Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Joe Larson. Joe Larson, how the hell are you?
Good. That is a very radio voice you have there.
Oh, good. Thank you so
You really went down for that intro.
That's the only canned thing I have, and that's why I sound like such a puss when I'm doing it. Because
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I always love when people have their fake voice. They're like,
Yeah.
all right, hey, how's it going? Okay, we're going to get started here in a second. All right.
That's the only canned thing. And then once I get that canned thing out of the way,
Yeah.
I get a little bit more natural.
My wife does that on the phone. She'll be talking to me, and then she'll pick up. She'll go, hello, and I'm like, who the hell is that? You don't sound like that. You're lying to me.
Would you like her to sound like that more? Is it super polite?
Absolutely not, because it just sounds like such horseshit. And she's this strong, powerful woman. She's a doctor. She owns her own business. She's written a couple of books. She terrifies me. And so when she goes, hello, I'm like, that's Dad, come on. I mean, I'd rather answer the phone like, what?
Yeah.
Because that's how I...
What, bitch? I'm a doctor. Read my books, and then we'll talk. Well, Joe Larson, where can people find you do stand-up comedy on stage in New York City, and where can they find you online?
If you go to joelarsonComedy.com, you will find all of the dates for New York City and elsewhere.
Okay.
Twitter's What About Joe, Facebook's Joe Larson Comedy, Instagram's Comedian Joe Larson. That is how good I am at social media. Different handles for each one.
Well, I imagine there might be another Joe Larson out there.
There are too many. I love when people say the one and only. I'm like, absolutely not. That is the most inappropriate statement I've ever heard.
Maybe the funniest one in New York City?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll take the funniest one in the world. So now, if you Google my name, Joe Larson, I am the first that pops up.
Okay.
Nailing it. But there is a Joseph Larson who is an evangelical preacher who's a gospel singer as well. I don't know if you can say gospel. He's a really, really uncomfortable white guy. And he pops up there, too.
We can say gospel on the podcast? That's not a curse word.
Yeah. Well, what I've wanted to do is, because some of his videos do pop up when you type in Joe Larson, is I'm going to take his video of him singing and take the audio out and overdub my stand-up on it and then post those. So when they click on his face, like, I'm going to listen to some Joseph Larson singing Christian songs.
And how would that work? Like, how does your comedy line up with gospel? Not at all, probably.
Not at all. Okay. Not for a moment. So I think it'd be hilarious. And I'm sure that I'd get a cease and desist very quickly. He also, there's a bunch, because I got interested. I got fascinated. So I looked him up, and he's got a bunch of, I guess he cheated on his wife, and he was trying to bang like some people in the congregation. So,
oh, no.
Yeah.
He's really playing with the stereotype, man. I mean, they're all doing that, right?
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, he really
I'm trying to keep
it.
them all apart, like Jimmy Swaggart and all those people. Like, I did this deep wormhole dive on Wikipedia the other day trying to find out who did what, and they're all just, rife with scandal. And it's usually embezzlement and things like that.
Well, they're looking for a position of power. I mean, you don't get into that game, right? Unless you're looking for a position of power. You're like, I want to lead people. I want to move people. I want to change their minds. I want to control them. Yeah. That's really what religion is. It's mind control. And so these people are like, I'm going to play with that. And then not only am I going to play with that person to person, I'm getting on television. I'm going to do it on the internet. I'm going to go hard.
Yeah, and I had some pastors in my family, but the difference is they didn't go out on TV. And so that shows that they really gave a shit about giving sermons and tending to the flock. It's just it wasn't about them, it was about their congregation. But yeah, the minute you go on TV, it's like, what does this guy really give a shit about?
Yeah. When it becomes impersonal, then it's about them.
Oh, yeah.
It's about
them. Once TV gets involved, it becomes impersonal.
Totally. So it's one-on-one in the congregation. You're like, okay, I see these people each week. This is my community, and I'm trying to help my community.
That's cool that the difference is TV.
Well, I think the difference...
TV being impersonal, that's a good point.
Well, TV, internet, that's why you should see stand-up comedy live. Go to joelarsonComedy.com.
And what kind, are you talking about any of that in your act, or the stuff we're going to talk about today is love and hate?
I like the ideas of love and hate. I've been thinking about it a lot lately because they are used, especially in English, as one word meaning many things, right? I can say these three statements and they're all true. I love my wife.
Okay.
I love my children. I love coffee. Those are all true statements.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And in other languages, there's many words. There's a love that you have for your your children is one kind of love,
Yeah.
right? And love you have for your friends is a different kind of love. But in English, it's all the same. It's all grouped into the same thing. There's no alternate word.
And that's weird. It's like in Alaska, they have 80,000 words for snow.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of snow. And so what does it say about American culture where we only have about 3? That means we don't have a lot of love.
Not a lot of love here.
Okay.
Not a lot of love here.
Is that the same thing with hate? Like you could make the say, I hate Backstreet Boys.
I hate the Backstreet Boys.
Right.
I hate Hitler.
Right.
These are two different hates, And
so do you propose a new lexicon for degrees of hate and love?
I think that we should. I think there should be many words for these. I
think Joe Larson comedy could be the place to do that. And even overdubbing the Joseph Larson, that could work.
Yeah.
Kind of school people on, this guy's saying he loves this, but I don't know that he loves it in the same way as he loves taking people's money or something.
Yeah. He loves banging people that isn't his wife way more than he loves banging his wife. That sort of thing.
And so how does that, I mean, is it kind of slowly making its way into your act? Are you working on bits that kind of involve hate and love?
Well, I have 2 children and I have a wife, and that is a different love. And that's a weird thing because that's a love that I think a lot of people would assume is the same love.
Right. So how are they different?
Well, because, my children are I think genetically you're supposed to love your children more. And I don't know if it's a more or a different.
Okay.
Well, it should be different. You shouldn't want to bang your children. Like if you love your wife and your children the same, you should go to jail.
Yeah.
But yeah, like again, I would die for my children and
and the wife? Not so much.
Yeah, I would.
Well, somebody's got to take care of the kids. Why would I die for my wife?
100%. Yeah. And then also you look at like the love that I give my children, the love I feel for them, and the love they feel for me.
Yeah. It's unconditional.
Oh, the love I have for my children is completely unconditional, and the love that they have for me is conditional 100%. Like. Again, they would murder me for candy, and I would die for them. Like they would sell me into slavery for Skittles, and
it's not both ways. And I guess some people go into motherhood or fatherhood thinking it will be unconditional love, and it really, somebody says there's nothing more conditional than a teenager or something like that.
Oh well, I mean, think about even just how you feel about your parents versus how they feel about you.
Yeah.
When I call my mother, the elation that comes through the excitement that oh my goodness, you called me, I'm the happiest woman.
My Lord.
And then think about like when your mom's name pops up on your phone, I'm so glad that she can't see my face. Just this sort of like, all right, I guess we got to do this.
Yeah, gotta set aside some time to think up the topics like Costanza or something. And then how does, do your parents kind of make their way into your act at all? Because it sounds like you have a good impression of the mother, of Mrs. Larson.
Mrs. Larson is a very sweet nut job and crazy as they get, but she doesn't make it in there too much.
But do you put voices and things like characters? Because it sounds like you got a pretty good handle on some. It seems like you're confident enough to do characters and voices. And
I do enjoy being a big persona on stage. I don't like getting small on stage in comedy. I think it's fun for me to play something bigger. Okay. One of my favorite comedians of all time is a guy named David Crow. Okay. And there's nobody bigger on stage than David.
And so how's he big? Just big energy, big voice, big movements?
Yeah, he has like the intelligent comedy of like a Mort Saul, like one of these where it's like almost so intelligent that it could lose people. But at the same time, he has the physical buffoonery of like a Jim Carrey. Wow. And so he melds these two in such a brilliant way.
Is he a big guy or small guy?
Small, normal sized, He's maybe 5'10" and 170 pounds, normal sized fella.
And he's been around for a while?
He's been around forever. He's out of Seattle. So he's not, he had a Showtime special. He was on Comedy Central. He's done a bunch of stuff. But man, his comedy is so brilliant because, again, it melds like these two things that are often seen as exclusive in comedy, which is either you're incredibly intelligent with the subject matter and the jokes, or your physical buffoonery. And he marries these two in such an incredible way.
And so do you do the same thing? I know you got the energy thing locked down, but are you also trying to stay intellectual with it?
I'm a complete idiot, but...
but behind that idiocy, there's some wisdom, right?
I try, but...
Because if you come off like an idiot, it's so nice to surprise the audience that occasionally you have some insight.
I hope I have some insight. Yeah, that's the goal, right? No, the goal's funny, but
if you can do both.
If you can do both, that's kind of nice sometimes. I guess.
And so what are the things that, because you have a certain persona, like, I don't know, idiot with high energy, let's go with. What are the things coming out of your mouth that people believe are coming from you? Like, there's probably certain topics that you can't say that a retiring Violet could say, and the converse is true.
I'm clean and dark at the same time.
So how's that?
Yeah, which is weird. Yeah. I did a dry bar special recently, which is like squeaky clean. It's for the Mormons, and in Provo, Utah, and
really,
yeah, and it was great. It was fun, and they were a great audience, and it was a really fun experience. But the list of things you can't talk about, I was like, I'm a clean comedian in the Northeast, but in Provo, I am. Disturbing.
Wow.
Yeah, which is interesting to me that again, I guess clean comedy, much like Love and Hate, has a spectrum to it that you don't consider. That even if you just mention suicide or murder, which I mention a lot, I think those things are hilarious.
It would seem to be clean enough, but it's dark. And so
it's dark.
They said you couldn't talk about those things?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
They probably wouldn't have laughed anyway, so they're doing you a favor telling you not to talk about murder and suicide.
Yeah, well, in one of my jokes, I mentioned suicide just to kind of push and it's a silly joke.
Okay.
But I got such pushback from the audience. It was wild.
Wow.
And so we cut that from the special. So
you're keeping the dark stuff in. And so what about kind of murder and suicide and love and hate makes its way into a clean but dark joke? Like, what's a silly suicide joke by Joe Larson?
That I have depression. I also have the ADD, which is good if you're going to have the depression. You want to have the ADD because every time I go to kill myself, I get distracted.
Oh, that's funny. I've never heard that before. Somebody with depression also has ADD. Yeah. Is that even? I guess it's possible.
You're
living
possible.
Proof, but
yeah.
it's probably rare, and that's cool that you're one of the few who can talk about it.
So yeah, but like that joke cannot go into that special, but that is a clean joke, right?
Yeah.
It's clean and clever, and
there's no sex, there's no dirty words.
No,
right?
No, but.
But even if you don't mention the suicide, I mean, I think that it's still hilarious that, if you're depressed, you probably, ruminate on negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. But if you have ADD, it's not, it's easier to kind of break that loop.
Oh, yeah, but you can get into all kinds of bad thoughts then. Yeah. They just don't stop coming.
Oh, that's great. I mean, so it seems like, even beyond the suicide thing, that seems a pretty deep well from which you can draw. And what are some other kind of examples of that darkness that's making its way into Joe Larson's comedy?
Well, the thing is that I love that the final elements are the most heightened, right? So if you want to go to a place that's interesting, you have to go to a place that you're terrified of,
okay,
or a place that nobody knows anything about.
Okay.
And what is the most death? That is the thing everyone's afraid of, and nobody knows what it's like.
Okay. And so are you kind of guessing at what death might be like?
Well, I think it's just lights off, right?
Okay.
Turn the lights off.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah.
No more. You don't get to know.
Yeah.
That's even more interesting. We don't get to know.
Yeah.
It's the only thing in life that you absolutely have no possibility of ever getting to know.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So how do you kind of toy with that in an interesting way?
It's the most heightened you can bring a situation in comedy. Often the idea is to heighten, and to a final point. One of my favorite stories that I tell on stage is about the time that my wife had to be a doctor on a plane. Yeah, when they call, is there a doctor on board?
You're like, shit, my wife is one.
Only doctor, I know. And she went up front to start helping this lady out, and they tried to keep giving her drinks. Like the flight attendants were like, "Thank you for helping out. Can I give you a drink?"
No, I might be used again. Yeah, on this flight. Yeah.
Totally. And that bitch did not send them back to me. I'm so upset. I was like, she told me afterwards. She was like, and I'm like, yeah, 26B back in the. What are you? But in that joke, I bring it to a point of we ended up killing the woman to go to Hawaii, because this is true. On the plane, they go, "You're the doctor. This is a medical emergency, and you are in charge." The pilot says that. He goes, "You tell me where to put it down. I'll do it."
Wow.
Yeah.
The power of that. And
totally.
So you're like, let's go to Hawaii.
I was like, Hawaii.
I do my best work on planes above Hawaiian water.
Yeah. So let's go to Hawaii, land, take her to the hospital, have a nice vacation.
Dude,
why go to Denver?
There's never a doctor on the plane, probably. But in this case, it's your wife, and she's got to attend to this person. They're not sending you drinks, man.
And what's funny is I always had put, how you can choose your prefix? I always put doctor. And so they didn't. My wife doesn't because she is one. So they called on the intercom. They're like, "Is there a doctor on board?" And I was like, "You gotta go." And she's like, "I'm not." Because she had 2 beers like in the waiting to go on the flight.
Okay.
So she's like, I don't know which state I'm in, so I'm not technically licensed, and I'm held to standards.
Yeah.
So there's got to be somebody else. B, I've had a couple of drinks in my system, so that medical malpractice. Like there's so many different reasons I should not be doing this.
Yeah.
I could lose my license. So I'm like, come on. But they just kept going like, is there a doctor on board? And
because
I was like,
you had put doctor as your prefix.
I'm assuming
Oh,
they're
my
like, we know
Lord.
there's a fucking doctor on board.
Oh my Lord, that's amazing. So it's like, now between the two of you, one of you's a fucking doctor, and she gets up.
Yeah, she got up. You know.
Ladies and gentlemen, watch your fucking prefix when you are on board and when you're putting in your information. And Joe Larson, what are the upcoming shows? Like, I know they can go to Joe Larson Comedy and they'll find you that way.
Yes. When is this airing?
I mean, it can go out tonight.
Oh, okay, great. I'll be in Vegas in 2 weeks at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club.
Oh, cool.
Tonight I'm at Broadway Comedy Club. Tuesday I'm in Greenwich Village. But Joe Larson Comedy to see all of the dates.
Dude, and if you're going to do that, you're going to catch some real fucking darkness, so be ready.
Yes, you'll see some happy darkness.
You're going to see some shit. Thank you
Happy
so
darkness.
much, Joe Larson.
Thank you.